I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank Chairman Ramirez for her appearance today. Chairwoman Ramirez, currently the FTC Act applies only to companies, and I quote, organized to carry on business for its own profit or that of its members, end of quote, which means that the FTC cannot protect consumers from nonprofit companies that commit unfair or deceptive acts. I introduced H.R. 5255, which would amend the FTC Act to give the FTC authority to cover nonprofits. If a company's conduct runs afoul of the FTC Act, consumers, in my opinion, must be protected, even if that company is a non-profit. Chairwoman Ramirez, in your written testimony, you discuss how H.R. 5255 will allow the FTC to pursue enforcement of deceptive data security and privacy practices at not-for-profits that have been involved with data breaches. I just want you to take this one sliver of what H.R. 5255 is aimed at. And could you please expand on the importance of this authority, specifically as it relates to data security and privacy practices?
Absolutely. This is a gap that I have serious concerns about. The fact is that a lot of nonprofits, including hospitals and universities, hold a significant amount of consumer information, personal information that needs to be protected, and we simply don't have the ability to reach nonprofits unless there are a few exemptions. But for the most part, it is a gap that I think we ought to close in order to provide more complete consumer protection. So I think it's an incredibly important area. On the data security side, it's crucial, but it also impacts us in a number of other areas, including, frankly, in connection with our competition work, where we can't reach certain nonprofit hospitals, for instance.
All right. Shifting to the unfair or deceptive acts and practices, what are some cases that the FTC could bring if it were able to bring cases against nonprofits that are committing unfair and or deceptive acts or practices?
Well, you cited an important area, which is the data security and privacy arena. Another area is that we do often find that certain charities who avail themselves of nonprofit status do engage in fraudulent or deceptive conduct. We can reach that kind of conduct if we can establish that the entity is in fact a sham nonprofit, but sometimes it can be difficult to establish that, and this measure would close, I think, an important gap and allow us to be more fulsome in our protection.
Can you expound a little on if the authority at the FTC were expanded to cover non-for-profits? Tell us a little bit more about how it would further protect consumers.
Again, the examples that you offered are significant to me. Data security is one of the most significant issues that we face as a nation. And so being able to reach conduct by just universities, for example, or hospitals, I think is deeply important. fraud in connection with charitable organizations is another significant area that's of concern to us. And while we've had some limited activity where the facts have warranted it and where we're able to establish that a supposedly nonprofit organization is in fact one that's operating for profit, we can reach that conduct. In the case of hospital mergers is another example where we would benefit from having jurisdiction over nonprofits. We then, because of the current jurisdictional limitation, those matters have to go to the Department of Justice for handling, even though we have significant expertise when it comes to ensuring that healthcare provider consolidation isn't anti-competitive. So I think those are just 3 different examples of ways that it would be very beneficial for us to have jurisdiction over nonprofits.
I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.